Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuhu. This is a video on advices for students who are trying to be organized in their life, and today's topic is about the benefits of study Pomodoro. Study Pomodoro is a technique developed by an Italian author called Francesco Cirillo. When he was a student, he was trying to find out a solution to be well organized in his studies. So what he did is that he took a device called Pomodoro, which is in Italian tomato. It's like one of those timers that have the shape of a tomato, and then it's used like for cooking. When you're cooking and trying to make a time so that when you finish a part of the cooking, the timer would like ring. So that's the device he took, and then he would organize his study schedules. If he wanted to read something for like 15 minutes or take a break, 10-minute break, he would set up those timers on that device. Now, if you look in our modern days, you can do this with your cell phone and other devices like alarm clocks. But the main thing that we want to talk about in this video is that how we can manage our time. And as Muslims, we have a lot of things up ahead of us that necessitate our present, how we organize our life, time management, doing things that matter, and avoiding wasting time, because we live in a world of distractions and we want to be organized, just like what was said in Tazawwud al-Sighar by Sheikh Ahmad Bamba, where he says that during the time when you're young, like, don't waste your time. Do everything that you have to do so that when you become older, you'll be at ease. So we're in a very distracting country, and many of us are students. We go to college, high school, universities. Many of us are just students. Many of us are students and we work part-time jobs, full-time jobs. Many of us also work full-time. So there are categories, but as Muslims, life is not just about going to work and going to schools. It's also about learning your deen, and that's that's a big issue in our society, because we just spend less time learning our deen. We give more time to the world, and what we do in the world is just a small portion of what's going to benefit us in the hereafter. So we need to give more time for the deen. And it might sound that we don't have much time. Like, many people will say that I don't have time to do that and that. But everything can be done if you're organized well. So Pomodoro is one of the things that can help you be organized. So let's say, for example, you're a student in high school, college. I'll take the worst case scenario where you're a student at the same time you're working. You have a schedule for school that you can't change, because you'll be told, come at this time, the lecture is at this time, and then you can go. So you're obligated to go. When you're also working, you're obligated to go. Like, this time is when you'll come, you'll leave at this time, so on. So the first thing for a Muslim to do is that you have to take a piece of paper and lay out a weekly schedule. So take a piece of paper, draw some lines, put down the dates from Monday to Sunday. Also, at the side, you write down the time. like let's say midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. until 12 a.m. Like write down all the times. If it's a time specifically that you go to bed, you can remove those times and just say, let's say 4 a.m. until like 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. So outline that, the number of days, but also the number of hours. You can even reduce it in a number of minutes, every 30 minutes, what you're going to do, or every hour. Depends on how you want to organize that. So if you do that and you have cages to fill out, the cages are your schedule, what you're going to do every day. Now, you have a time of prayer during that schedule. And it's obligatory. If you're mature, obligatory for you to pray. So you would say, I wake up at this hour. And I would recommend, when it comes to taking a shower and all that, like doing it before prayer is better than doing it after prayer. Because when you pray, you want to be ready to go out and do your occupations. So take a shower before, and then you organize your time. Fajr prayer is not that long. With prayer and the du'as you're going to make, let's say you're going to say, do it for 10 minutes. And then give 10 minutes to review lessons of the deen, which is very important. If you're still learning the Quran, say, I'm going to give 10 minutes to read the Quran. So take your cell phone, set a timer of 10 minutes, and put it next to you and start reviewing your Quranic lessons just by reading. You don't need to make it too hard. Just read. Read. When you're done, read again. When the 10 minutes are up, the clock rings, you're done reviewing your Quran. You did something important. So far we just spent 20 minutes. It's not that long. So you have plenty of time to get ready to go to school or go to work. Now, if you're a student, it is very important to review your lectures before you go to the class, because you have to be prepared for questions. I would say class is the best moment to ask questions for the professor instead of waiting to review the lecture, because the time where the teacher writes down the lesson, like you don't know what he's going to talk about. So you're just there looking, taking notes, but you're not taking the time to read what he's saying. You're just listening to what he's saying, but you're not taking the time to look into it, to evaluate where you understand, because you won't have time. Professors, when they write down, that's it. You only ask questions during the lecture, but you don't have time to read all the lecture and then develop your questions. So it is better during the first days, after you take the notes, after you take your textbook, to give time to review what you learned before coming to class, so that you will have time to ask questions. Because if you don't ask questions during those times, you'll have to wait until office hours, and you might not have time for office hours. So it is better to review. If you're taking the bus or the metro or whatever, give yourself like 15 minutes. Same thing, Pomodoro. You take 15 minutes, you read the lecture notes on your way to school. Even if you came there early and the professor didn't come yet, take your time to review it. If you're driving also, try to go early so that you can have time to review the lesson. That will be easier for you to ask questions. Now, you have your schedule. You settle the times of prayer. You also put in the times of having school and work. Now, the ones that are blank, you have to fill it out with productive things. When you are a student, you do many things. You take notes, which is during the class. You give time to review the notes, which is at home. You give time to do the homework, which is at home. So these are the three things. Reviewing the notes is also reading the textbook. So you need a large amount of time. I would recommend for every chapter, give 50 minutes to read it. Now, this is when you're in a place where you're not working, you're not going to school. So once you sit down, take a break, a small break, 10 minutes, 15 minutes break, and then write down a schedule where at this specific time I'm going to start reviewing the lecture notes, which is reading the textbook and reviewing the lecture notes within 50 minutes. You time yourself. You can, if you need more time, you can do 50 minutes review and then 10 minutes break and then another 50-minute review. You'll be more organized. Also, give your time to do homework too. Set up times for homework. Also, set up times for reviewing your Quranic lessons or your lessons in fiqh. If you started learning jurisprudence, which is Islamic law, how to pray, how to fast, the obligation to sunnah, give yourself time to review that. And it's just a small amount of minutes. It's just reviewing portions. Because when it comes to Islamic studies, you don't need to rush. You take your time because you're teaching yourself. So you're taking time. But when it comes to school, it's limited. You have to get this done right now. So set up your schedule. Give yourself time to review school. Give yourself time to review the Islamic teachings. And also respect that time. Because I'm pretty sure if the student who is dedicated to this practice, if you follow those advices, you will have plenty of time to rest. You reviewed your lessons from school, you did your homework, you studied your Islamic lessons. The rest of the time, you can do many things. And also, chores are very important too, because it keeps you productive, it keeps you focused. When you sit down, you don't do nothing for a long time. Shaitan will come to you and make you lazy, make you say like, go play video games, go do this and that. And those things are not important. It just feeds out of your nafs, but they're not important. So if you're someone who is smart, reflecting, you have to focus on things that matter. So time what you do. Even when you're doing home chores, cleaning the dishes, washing this and that, set up a time. Say I'm going to do Pomodoro 30 minutes. 30 minutes I'll be washing the dishes, doing this and that. So everything is about organization, because when you finish doing all these things in specific times, you will have time to do what you want. You will have time to sit down and relax. It's all about organization. And also, when you're a student, don't wait for the professor to teach you things. You have to study up ahead. If he says or she says, next week we will talk about this chapter, this specific section, study that section right away. If you finish your first section, study the one that you're going to do up ahead. Once you study, you'll have plenty of time to do homeworks on those sections, even before the professor teaches you that. So this is a very good method. I personally been doing this method and having time to get things done. So this is the benefits of Pomodoro, but it also would protect you from procrastinations. Procrastinations is all about habits that makes you lazy, push you more into doing things that don't matter, like spending all day watching TV, wasting time, sleeping too much, like all those things, being on your phone, social media, all that is procrastination. And one of the solutions to procrastination is time management. One of the solutions to protect yourself from shaitan is also time management, because shaitan gets in your head mostly when you don't do anything. When you're not focused into anything, shaitan comes into your head. So this is a video about study Pomodoro, but it's not only related to study. You can apply this to your day-to-day life, because in life we always have to do something. We should not just sit down and do nothing. There's always something to do, and we must do things that matter. So this is where the video ends. Hopefully, if this is something you think is important, try it out now. Write down that schedule, set up your times, and see the outcomes of this practice. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.